In a legislative session, Representative Jonah Wheeler, a Democrat recognized for championing human rights, voiced his opposition to irreversible surgeries for minors. Despite his strong support for LGBTQ rights, Wheeler argued against permitting minors to undergo these surgeries, highlighting concerns about irreversibility and potential risks. Don't miss. What ethical considerations surround the debate on allowing minors to undergo irreversible surgeries? How does Wheeler balance his liberal beliefs with his stance on banning these surgeries for children? What role does the Health and Human Services Committee play in addressing this legislation?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that reminder. I rise today despite the uncomfortability of this vote.
I rise today despite the uncomfortability of this vote. Acknowledging the challenges of addressing problems highlights internal conflicts and underscores the importance of addressing complex moral or ethical dilemmas. It involves facing uncomfortable truths and engaging in authentic, self-aware decision-making processes.
Because for me, it comes down to whether or not kids should be able to get these surgeries.
Whether or not kids should be able to get these surgeries. Pediatric surgeries prompt essential questions about their adequacy, raising concerns about long-term impacts and ethical dilemmas. These concerns revolve around personal autonomy, informed consent, and society's overarching responsibility to protect vulnerable individuals.
And despite the fact that I am a liberal, despite the fact that I believe in non-discrimination for trans people, for gay people, for queer people, and that I will fight until my very last day, until they are recognized as human beings. The question before us is whether or not children under the age of 18 should be able to get these surgeries. And I, despite being a liberal who believes in those human rights, do not think that is the case.
Despite being a liberal who believes in those human rights, do not think that is the case. The challenge arises as a liberal human rights advocate finds themselves at odds on certain issues, revealing a clash between personal values and beliefs within intricate moral dilemmas.
And when the question is put before me, and I spoke to people until 11:30 last night, lobbyists, different stakeholders, people with firsthand experience, lived experience, and I've been speaking to people for the last 4 weeks about this bill. The only argument against it being that this opens the amendment specifically opens the door to other bad trans bills. But folks, the slippery slope fallacy I don't think applies here. We're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, and they should not. These are irreversible surgeries.
The slippery slope fallacy I don't think applies here. We're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, and they don't. These are irreversible surgeries. In order to counter slippery slope fallacies and emphasize the irreversible nature of surgeries, a strategic approach to debate is crucial. This involves focusing on precise outcomes and carefully evaluating policy changes. The key lies in dedicating efforts to address specific issues, considering both individual benefits and potential consequences.
And despite the fact that there are medical exceptions which are included in this amendment, when people have problems with their genitals that need to be addressed, that should be addressed.
Medical exceptions which are included in this amendment, when people have problems with their genitals that need to be addressed, that should be addressed. Navigating the intricacies of medical exceptions is a challenging task. It requires striking a delicate balance between addressing genuine medical needs and the prevalence of surgical interventions. Moreover, it entails taking into account nuanced individual health requirements within the larger ethical conversation.
But when we're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, I think that goes a bridge too far.
Whether or not kids should get these surgeries, I think that goes a bridge too far. Pediatric surgery sparks numerous questions about its effectiveness, long-term consequences, ethical considerations, the age at which individuals can make crucial decisions, and the delicate equilibrium between personal autonomy and society's responsibility to protect vulnerable members.
And I will not be signing on to that. So I will be supporting this amendment, and I appreciate the work done in the Health and Human Services Committee. They worked very diligently, and if you want to watch legislating being done in real time in a really good way, I would recommend that you watch the committee hearings on this bill. The work session on this legislation because they diligently took all people into account, they took all experiences into account, and they came up with a legislation that protects children under the age of 18.
They diligently took all people into account. They took all experiences into account, and they came up with legislation that protects children under the age of 18. The committee demonstrates sincerity by embracing diverse perspectives, recognizing the complexity of the issue. They delve into legislative intent, engage in authentic dialogues, and consider a range of lived experiences.
It's not a question of whether or not you're with the trans community. This is a question on whether or not you believe children should be able to get these irreversible surgeries. So again, despite being a Democrat, despite being a liberal who believes in human rights, I don't think that children should be able to get these irreversible surgeries.
I don't think that children should be able to get these irreversible surgeries. In highlighting the representative's unwavering opposition to irreversible child surgery, the focus is on addressing apprehensions regarding the permanent nature of such interventions. The article emphasizes the influence of personal values and beliefs in shaping individuals' moral perspectives on this issue.
So I'll take all the heat that comes from this. I will be voting for this amendment and for OTPA if it passes. The bill in its original form I think is too broad, and I won't be voting for OTP, but I will be voting for OTPA if the bill passes and for the amendment if it passes. And I hope all of you on this side of the aisle who definitely believe in human rights, who believe in protecting non-discrimination, would consider the irreversible surgeries that kids are going to be getting if this bill does not pass. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I urge you to join me in supporting this amendment.
Democratic Representative Jonah Wheeler takes a unique position within his party by opposing irreversible surgeries for minors. While championing human rights, Wheeler emphasizes the importance of protecting minors from permanent medical interventions. This stance diverges from mainstream Democratic views, advocating for careful consideration of the potential long-term effects on the well-being of underage individuals. Representative Jonah Wheeler faces a moral dilemma as he grapples with the clash between liberal anti-discrimination principles and his strong opposition to irreversible surgeries on minors. This conflict highlights the intricate dynamics at play in decision-making within the political realm, where an individual's ethics can sway collective choices. As a Democrat and supporter of liberal ideologies, Wheeler's internal struggle reveals the impact of personal convictions on political decision-making. Examining the psychological aspects of Wheeler's position uncovers the tension between his party's doctrine and his deeply held beliefs, emphasizing the influence of an individual's moral compass in group decision-making. The focus is on the potential consequences of legislative bills related to irreversible medical procedures on the well-being, identity formation, and autonomy of children and adolescents. This scrutiny sheds light on the role of rhetoric and persuasive arguments in shaping legislative outcomes within the political discourse. Wheeler's commitment to a principled stance despite discordance with his ideological alignment highlights a genuine concern for the welfare of minors and a profound moral compass. This analysis extends beyond immediate legislative debates on gender identity, parental rights, and gender-affirming healthcare, encompassing broader societal implications. The discussion spans social norms, cultural attitudes, and the evolving role of legislation in fostering a more inclusive and understanding society.
What do you think?
I promote myself and my videos. Hello, I'm Bong Sim, a Canadian resident of Asian descent. During the day, I work as a professional counselor, and at night, I do Uber food delivery. Instead of speaking in my videos, I prefer to express myself through writing. In today's world, speaking the truth can have serious consequences, both for my professional life and personal well-being. That's why I'm choosing to pen down my thoughts and using a platform to share them on my behalf. Some people find my videos uninteresting, too strict, and they even criticize the appearance of the individuals featured, including their tiredness, Asian, or perceived flaws. I understand these concerns, but I genuinely believe in the purpose behind creating these videos. Unfortunately, recent Canadian legislation has resulted in the censorship of free speech and online content, and although Google hasn't explicitly admitted their involvement, I suspect they play a part in it. Despite my efforts to monetize my content on YouTube, I haven't been able to earn any income from it. I've tried 3 times, and all my attempts were rejected. They turned me down for reasons like lacking creativity, not having a recognizable face, or not having a distinct voice. Nevertheless, I've made several adjustments to my videos, hoping to overcome these challenges. If you share my belief and support what I'm doing, I would genuinely appreciate your backing.